Hello and welcome to another episode of Slice and Dice. I'm Josh, if you don't already know, the founder of the agency, and you should know this guy is. He's been on a few episodes now.
Yep, I'm Dan, the senior SEO specialist at ClickSlice.
And in this one, what we wanted to do is discuss SEO, AEO, content, and essentially when the two intersect, and when is the right time to start placing your bets in the AEO world, essentially. So let's start off with that, right? SEO versus AEO from an investment wise. If you're an ecom brand, you're seeing a lot of hype about AEO is growing, the models are getting more popular, traditional SEO could be dying. How would you approach that?
So I think really it depends where your business is at this point. If you've already got rankings in the top 1 to 3 spots, you're earning from your active SEO activities, now's the time to start looking into AEO. If you have the budget, you should be doing both of them right now. There should be no kind of let's wait until X day and then we'll do it. If, however, your budget's strained, you don't have the ability to just do everything all at once, traditional SEO should still be taking the priority. I mean, fundamentally, the traditional SEO has about an 80 to 90% overlap with AEO activities. Obviously, there is a bit more, I guess, like R&D investment that needs to go into AEO because it's so new. So really, should you be focusing on something that's new and shiny, or should you be focusing on something that is still consistently working before you start moving into that territory? So for me, assuming the business is already doing quite well, I would only be pivoting into AEO when it's at that stage. If it's brand new, you need to build up that traditional SEO first. And once that's there, then you can start experimenting.
So you wouldn't do AEO unless you semi-done well on traditional SEO, essentially?
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, AEO and the recommendations you're going to get off AI, it's going to be based on the fact that you're already visible in search. If you're not visible in search anywhere, it doesn't know who you are anyway. So the traditional SEO has to be established. Once it's established, you can then amplify those signals using AEO.
So another question I actually have. Would you say it's critical for a brand to use the same SEO agency as the AEO agency?
I'd say it's advisable, yeah.
Or can they separate them?
I don't see why you'd want to. Because ultimately, there's so much that goes into planning your SEO campaign. You need to know the brand inside and out. You need to know the products inside and out. Once you have that, then you can start accurately targeting certain keywords and so on. And a lot of the times, particularly when we have clients come in, we are actually showing them information they didn't know about their own market. They didn't know about their own products. Once you have that information, then you start focusing on amplifying that. If you've got one team working on X and another team working on Y, you're splitting and probably doubling your budget, when in reality there's an 80 to 90% overlap in a lot of this work. So there's no real reason to segment these things. Really, you want to see an agency that's able to do both.
And we say the same for Google Ads as well, right? It's still Google search. One's just organic, one's paid. You should be sharing those insights between two different agencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a big part of both traditional SEO and AEO is obviously content, right?
Yeah.
How do the two overlap?
Well, I mean, content really is what's ranking. That's actually what you're trying to rank. It's not the bit obviously the business brand. You want to get cited. You want AI to recognize your brand and to understand what it's about. But how it understands what you're about and how it knows what to reference you for is the content that you put on your website. So if you've got a product page and it's just got the price, tiny bit of information, and that's it, AI is just going to refer to someone like Amazon where there's a lot more detail. If you can build onto your product page structured content with tables, bullet points, product specifications detailed out, if you can then put all reviews that you've ever had on that particular product and nest them in either an accordion or in a carousel so that they're still in the site code, AI crawlers are going to read that. They're going to get all of the information that they need, and then they're going to be able to make those comparisons, which is ultimately what's going to get you ranking in those kind of engines. So when people, I think at the moment, are kind of overcomplicating what AI SEO actually is, it's ultimately that you need very high quality content to rank on both traditional SEO and with AEO as well. Yeah.
I think a lot of people were intimidated, right, when these models first came out, how are we going to rank? Oh, we have to change. And your job as an SEO expert should be to evolve. That's the whole point of optimizing for search engines. They change, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, one of the questions I'd want to kind of throw to you is, you're obviously massive on the brand building front. You've done exceptionally well building this particular brand. For people who are coming into this space now and they're thinking about traditional SEO and they're thinking about AEO, what's the overlap between getting these kind of short-term gains and that long-term brand building that's now becoming super important in AI?
It's really important. It's a good question. So I think ultimately it depends on what your goals are. if you're an agency, a founder, an ecom brand, right? But like, if you look at it from search intent, right, there's people that are searching for the products and services that you sell. So ultimately, it's always gonna come down to keyword targeting, right? Targeting the right keywords. Now, there's different types of keywords. So using ClickSlice as an example, because this is a perfect example for this. One of the biggest terms we target is like e-commerce SEO agency London, right? Big short-term keywords, right? Or short-tail keywords, not short-term. They can be short-term if you can get good results really quickly, right? But essentially, to target that keyword from the get-go of a brand new domain with no reputation, no authority, it's near impossible to rank, right? So you're better off targeting longer-tail keywords. So it could be like SEO agency in a smaller town. I know the length of the keyword is the same, but it's obviously less competitive because it's a smaller county or town versus a city. And once you start building up momentum, getting traffic, getting leads, good user metrics, on-page bounce rates, then you can start to expand and target more competitive terms. And then that's where you start to have a really good ROI.
Yeah, massively.
I always say once you've got the foundations in place, you've got leads, you're scaling, whether it's the ecom brand, is traffic and sales, then you can start to focus more on brand. And I think too many businesses focus on branding so much from the get-go, and it's like, who are they actually branding to?
Yeah,
because no one can find you.
Yeah, exactly.
Branding with the SEO kind of authority in the back end is a lot more effective than brand and then building SEO. You can get away with it, I guess. Like I do a lot of discovery calls for brands that are really big on paid social. Like they know who they are. They've got like 10,000 searches for the brand name a month, and it's like great. But like, take the brand out of it. No one actually knows of your brand for searching one of your like commercial intent keywords. And that's a massive market, bigger than the brand market, in terms of untapped traffic and revenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So quite a long answer there, but there's different stages there, right?
Yeah, it is unfortunately just one of those areas where there is a lot more that goes into building a brand than most people realize. It's not a straightforward exercise at all.
Yeah, and both is just as difficult. I think SEO is not straightforward, is it? Either building a brand, and most people pick one. If you could do both at the same time,
yeah, well, that's the ultimate ideal, isn't it? You're meant to be doing both. Yeah.
Awesome. So there's obviously a lot happening in this space, right? AEO, content, SEO. What are your predictions for the next wave of discoverability?
I think what's quite, at least to my mind, a fairly obvious area that's going to continue to grow is people are now starting to get into the habit of using tools like Google Lens to do images or videos that are from real life, and then relaying that information back into an AI, which would then recommend you products or companies that will supply whatever it is that you're taking pictures of. I think it's one of those areas where it's going to take a while before it really catches on, but fundamentally it's a much more superior version of search that's already currently happening. So instead of describing, what are these blue bath mats? Where do you get them from? Like, you just take a picture of the bath mat and it finds out what it is immediately. Yeah. So the data's already there. That's already growing pretty consistently, and I think that will continue to grow. It's superior to what's currently there. What I think most people aren't then realizing in relation to that is that image optimization and media optimization now from an SEO perspective is going to become a lot more important. And so while there are some obvious things, there's a lot of not obvious things that we've started tapping into where we're starting to see quite good results on that front as well. It's quite a hard channel to track the traffic from because Google doesn't necessarily give you like distinct differences between that traffic and normal search traffic at the moment. But longer term, I mean, ultimately they eventually will. So I think if I had to put my money on an area where it won't take a lot from you or your team to improve this side of your business, but you could see potential like massive returns from it, it'd be that.
I think it's always overlooked in SEO. There was one stage where like a brand or even businesses would try so hard to rank the products in Google Images. Like people would search for, I don't know, coffee dining table and then go to images and see ones for inspiration. I think it's quite big in the home like living space.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And you click the image, you click the website, and you got traffic now, and you see it visually. They're probably a bit further down the purchase funnel as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But exactly. Exciting.
So I guess from there, then obviously there's so many different areas to go down. If you had say 10 grand a month, where would you be putting your budget at the moment?
10 grand a month. So I would change it each quarter in reality because where you allocate the budget is going to be dependent on where the site is, and that frames on both AEO, where you're ranking on traditional SEO, your content, your backlinks. But it's only going to be 10K right now. I had a website, it was built. I would put in £4,000 into content for sure. That's the foundation of both SEO and AEO, right? And again, I'm not talking about internal links, the schema. This is all given, should be done in the back end. You're not going to rank with just content. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. I then put another £4,000 on backlinks.
Yeah.
I'd probably split that between high authority guest post links and maybe some niche edits as well. I think we have a nice good balance of both old, aged existing links and kind of new published content as well. Then I put the remaining £2,000 on AEO. So again, completely different content to traditional SEO. I put the LTC content that we discussed in previous podcasts, really, really effective. And I would say after 3 months, I'd probably lower the content a little bit, maybe from 4,000 to 3,000, and then up the backlinks to £5,000 per month, and just keep getting aggressive. And people will listen and think, backlinks still? Like, we're in 2025, 2026?
Super overlooked.
Like, we don't need that no more. Google said, and just some advice, don't ever listen to Google for SEO advice. Like, it doesn't make any logical sense. Why would they tell us what to do? The harder it is for us, the more people that run Google ads, the more money they make, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? What would you do? 10 grand in your bank account, landing tomorrow. What are you doing?
I think depends on the stage of the business for me. So initially, content is more important. If you don't have a site with high quality content, the rest of it isn't going to count. And it's not going to count as quickly as you'd want it to either. Once you've got the content sorted, then I would move into the system that you've defined there. I don't think there's a better allocation of that initially. Like once you move into that area where you're getting commercial rankings in the top 1 to 3 space, it becomes less about tweaking that content and more about enhancing the backlink signals.
Authority.
Yeah. 100%. And so I think it's all, depending where you are, you allocate correctly. It should never just be a fixed thing that you just keep static each month, really.
Agreed. I know you're on social media quite a bit, Dan. LinkedIn's your favorite platform?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Shout out to my LinkedIn fans out there. What's something you see at the moment? Because I see a lot of it, but I'll let you go first. That everyone seems going on and on about, and we know it's just, within the industry, within us, we know it's complete overhype.
I mean, it is quite common. There's a lot of things that people relatively new to SEO, you hear a lot of people talking about things that make a lot of sense, and you're like, oh, it must be that complicated, it must be that difficult. I mean, from the stats that we've seen, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated, and that seems to be one of the big things that's trending at the moment. You need this super advanced back-end technical optimization to start ranking in AI. If you don't optimize your robots file to integrate new LMM like script section, none of that is actually what's ranking.
It's all BS.
It is, yeah. And ultimately, it's one of those things where, because the field itself is so complicated and there are so many secrets in the field, people kind of defer to the person who sounds like they're the smartest rather than the people who are actually getting the results. And so there's a lot of people out there making a lot of noise, but in reality, you look at the real data of what's ranking and who's ranking, they're not doing any of this stuff.
I think that's why we stand out, Like, I think it's one of our USPs. Like, you probably don't see this as much as you're not on discovery calls, but people are like, I love the way you explained it. It's so just straight down to earth. Didn't confuse me. I'm like, like anything else you want me to cover? Have lunch? I'm like, in and out. We just straight to the point, and we're good at what we do, right?
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things in most fields, isn't it? If you feel like you're lost, how are you really able to qualify if these people know what they're doing? Like if they can't explain it to you simply, they probably don't understand it that well themselves. Because ultimately, I mean, me and you could sit here for hours and baffle the pants off most people in our industry, but
bore them.
And bore them for sure.
Bore them for sure.
But that's ultimately not what clients need. It's also not what the search environment needs. So we just stay away from it. So what about you though? What do you think's overhyped right now?
SEO is dead. That saying...
I thought it died 10 years ago, didn't it?
I thought it died 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
That saying has been going on literally from the day I was born. Like, I just over and over again. And most people won't like me when I say this, but SEO is not dead. Like, you're just dead at SEO. Like, bro, that backlink didn't work. Doesn't mean SEO is dead. Yeah. You need to adapt, man. Like, you're in SEO. You're supposed to be adapting and evolving. And ultimately, like I said, that is our role, right? And if I had £1 for every time I heard that, I'd be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Multi-billionaire, And I've seen so many people in the industry come and go. They build an agency, they get a few clients, then go buy a Mercedes convertible, they live in the high, they have to drive into Brighton SEO, they're living life, and then they lose a couple clients, site get hit by a manual penalty, and then
game over.
What they used to do doesn't work no more, and then they're out here saying everyone's scamming people, SEO is not the same, and they then become the people that actually fight the good guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're so just stuck with themselves. But yeah, SEO is a very weird industry. I think ultimately my experience from going to a lot of like networking events, meeting a lot of the top guys in the UK as well, is a lot of people have like egos in this industry where like someone will make a optimization on a website and it works. They do option A. Someone makes optimization on another website a different way. That also works. And then they're arguing on Twitter. That doesn't work. This is the way. Like, people don't also appreciate or accept that there's multiple ways to do the same thing that both work.
Ways in this industry.
And ultimately, clients don't care. They just care about, have you got me ranking higher? Am I getting more traffic? Am I making more money?
That's it. Yeah.
And I think a lot of the people lose sight of that, right? So you have a little bit of a little vent there. Sorry,
no, it's necessary, mate. It's one of those about once a month, I think.
No, cool. I think that's pretty much everything, right, for this one.
Yeah.
No, nice. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for another one coming in 2 weeks' time.
See you around.